In our last episode, Rocco Coza helped us uncover the legal blind spots that can sink a business even before it gets off the ground. But here's the truth. Even if you get the legal piece right, your business can still stall. It might plateau. It might even collapse if you don't scale it the right way. Scaling isn't just about hiring people or chasing down more revenue on the balance sheet, is what I've come to find. It's about building healthy systems. It's about shifting your mindset as the founder and entrepreneur that you are. And it's avoiding the growth traps that blindside so many entrepreneurs. And today we got Rocco back because we're digging into those very traps. Not just as a business lawyer, which you heard in the last episode, but he's a founder himself. He's lived the entrepreneurial journey. So if you're a leader who's wondering how to grow without losing control, this conversation is surely going to challenge you to think about how you're scaling your company.
This is the Champion Forum podcast with Jeff Hancher, the forum for leaders, champions, and dreamers.
The Cozza Law Group, PLLC, a premier boutique law firm with offices in Pittsburgh, New York City, and Nashville, serves small to large companies, startup entrepreneurs, and seasoned business owners. Recognized by Pennsylvania super lawyers as rising stars, listed among the best lawyers in America, and honored by lawyers of distinction, we redefine legal services. Agile, efficient, and creative, we offer white glove service 24/7, ensuring peace of mind. Choose the Cozza Law Group for trusted legal advice.
Hey, welcome back to the Champion Forum podcast, everybody. I am excited to have Rocco back on the show. We're going to continue the conversation. Rocco, thanks for saying yes to a part 2 of this.
Oh, it's my pleasure, my friend.
I felt like it had to be done because, you're multi-talented. You always give great legal advice, but I thought, blending these conversations just wouldn't do it justice because, look, an argument could be made that you're a better entrepreneur than you are a lawyer.
Yeah,
and you're pretty good at both. So
thank you.
One of the things I love about you, Rocco, is that you're not just a lawyer. You've actually built a phenomenal brand. You've built a great business. I'm sure it's come with challenges and headaches and all of the things. And that gives you a very unique perspective into the topic we're talking about today. You've lived the founder's journey. You're there. You got scars to prove it and probably victory laps that you've been able to go on. Yeah. And so thanks again for joining us. And I know this is a subject that you're passionate about serving others with as well.
Absolutely, man. It's definitely something I've been passionate about for a long time. And I've finally kind of stepped out now to really start helping founders in a more strategic way as opposed to just being their lawyer, because like you said, I've lived it. I went through my own journey of self-discovery as a founder and it opened my eyes to so many things. It really did.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's somebody listening that, based off what we're telling them from episode 1 now to the second episode, it's like, Jeff, you just keep throwing things on us to do. Well, nobody said this was going to be easy, right? Like last episode, I told you better get the legal right.
Yeah.
Now this episode, I'm saying, well, legal's not enough. You got to do more. Hey, look, we're here to provide those resources. I'm sure, Rocco, in your journey, there's been blind spots that have created wisdom.
Yes.
And I know that's been the case for me as well. And so I want to share some of those with the listener today. I have followed your content, not just legal, which we talked about in the last episode, but look, I've heard you talk about the entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. Honestly, in my time of knowing you, more than legal.
Yeah.
And so I learned so much every time I speak to you. But I wanted to open the conversation about something you talk quite a bit about. I've heard you talk about it on social media as well, is stepping outside the frame.
Yeah.
This is something you talk about that helps founders escape being the bottleneck in their business, which is huge.
Yeah.
But so I guess here's the question on that topic. What are the most common invisible bottlenecks that you are seeing that founders maybe don't even realize are holding them back?
The founder themselves. That's truly that is the biggest and I don't say that lightly because it really is, because the step outside the frame was really, it came to me from my own journey, right? I knew, the past year was a challenge, and 2024 is a very challenging year for me professionally, and it's truly because I was inside the frame. I didn't have the vision at that moment to see what was going on until I actually truly stepped outside of my business and looked at it objectively, and I saw all the things I missed. So I was the bottleneck. Like, I look at that, and most of the founders I've worked with, 95% of them, they are the bottleneck because they have too much of a tunnel vision, and they're inside this box or this frame they've created, and they don't know how to step outside of it. So that's where I try and help them to put a different lens on their business and look at it differently. So if it's not just the founder, that's the biggest one. The second one is just a misalignment and a misunderstanding of expectations within a team. There's no accountability. Everybody's supposed to do something, but no one's accountable for anything.
Yeah,
That's a huge
that's
one.
big. That is a huge one. And this is, look, guilty as charged. I've uncovered so many things that were invisible to me, but critical.
Yeah.
And, a lot of entrepreneurs are drivers. I'm not here to put everybody in a box, but you're drivers, you're mission oriented, all of these things. And that creates some real blind spots. So what's some practical advice that you would give to people that are stuck in the frame? Whether that's, coaching or collaborating or asking the right questions or 360 reviews. Like, what are some practical steps that a founder can take to step outside that frame?
Well, the first thing I have them do is audit their time. Like, audit your week. Like, what are you actually, because most founders don't even know what they're doing week to week. They think they're doing all these things, and they think things are moving in a certain direction. But when you actually sit down and audit your time, like truly write down your activities that you engage in throughout the week and the time it takes, one, you'll find a lot of wasted time. Two, they'll find a lot of things they shouldn't even be touching. And three, they're finding the things they love to do the most, they do the least. Like, you have to start to, if you don't know the status of your week, you can't even fix it, because you have to understand that first, right? You have to find the problem. You find the problem by doing the audit. That's first and foremost. Like, do that, and then start looking at, okay, what of these things should I delegate or kill? So there are certain things you have to either delegate them, or like, I don't even know why I'm delegating. This shouldn't even touch my desk. But founders have that need to control everything. I was that person. Then I have to realize that, okay, I just got to kill some of these things. Just let somebody else handle it, and it'll only come to me if the building's on fire.
Yeah. Well, the old saying, you can't fix what you don't know is broken, right?
Yeah.
And I know you talk about the, audits, and you talk about a people process profit audit, because again, back to tunnel vision, we need clarity. We need clarity around this. What surprising patterns often surface in these audits, especially in businesses that seem like they're doing extremely well? This may be even a bigger blind spot, because why would we change anything? Look at our balance sheet. Look at the net income. Look at our brand, whatever it might be. What do you see as maybe would be a surprising pattern that surfaces when these people process profit audits are done?
Yeah, so to your point, so the businesses that are very successful, that I'm like, how is that? It's usually the people problem. There's no real accountability or expectations of the people, so they've just gotten really lucky with good performers that are kind of moving the needle, but they don't even know what they're capable of, because there's no minimum expectations or an upside for them. So what I found is when people actually put structures in place that, one, hold their people to a certain standard, and then two, incentivize the upside, that can transform a business. That's a people and a process piece, or a people and profit piece. The other big surprising one is most of these successful companies have very little, if any, processes. They're all in the founder's head. And I always say, like, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, how are people going to know what to do? Well, they'll just figure it out. I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, you've got to start, and it's hard to get somebody to articulate everything, so you start piecing things one by one. Look at what's the most critical process within a business. Like, what is the one that if this process breaks, the business comes to a screeching halt? And sometimes founders aren't even asking that question, because they think, one, they're invincible. Two, they're not going anywhere. 3, people will just figure it out. People are smart. They're figured out. What I always tell people is don't assume anything.
Isn't that the truth?
That's a huge problem. But again, from a founder's perspective, and this was my own fault too, I assume people see the world like me. And that is the farthest thing from the truth. That's why my name's on the wall and others aren't, because we see the world differently. So you have to, and you have to communicate to your team in the way they receive information, not the way you think they should receive the information. That's another big problem. It's just a lack of communication.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? And I think, unfortunately, some of these audits aren't done until things are going wrong.
It's usually
Yeah, because it's like, you don't need to be a genius to realize if things aren't going well, I need to get under the hood and figure out why this is.
right.
But I think what we're talking about is let's not get too overconfident here. This, are you good or are you lucky, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But I think having these audits, whether it's time, systems, processes, this lets us know, are we in misaligned roles on the team?
Right. Yep.
Are there hidden inefficiencies that are creating profit leaking in your company?
Exactly right.
These are things that I know, hand up, I've overlooked it because I'm a control freak and I have all the IP in my head and, all these different things. So tremendous advice. This is where the clarity comes. The people, the process, the profit, these audits have to happen.
And the ultimate thing a founder is trying to get is freedom, right? So they're trying to get time freedom and focus on truly what is the thing they built the business for, right? The time freedom, the ability to live the life they want, but they're so stuck inside the frame and doing everything that it causes this massive level of anxiety and angst, and they feel like they can't let go of anything because it'll break. And I tell people, look, they're not going to do it like you, but would you rather have it done 80% well or 0% because you're not going to do it?
And that's the truth.
The other thing.
I think, it's a really good point, because I would say a goal for a lot of entrepreneurs is to build a business that runs without them.
Yes.
The chasm is many of us are control freaks.
Yeah.
So how do we build a business that runs without us when we have to control everything, right?
Yeah.
And what we find is, for many entrepreneurs, letting go is hard. So from your perspective, what are the most frequently resisted areas? Like when you're helping founders through this challenge, which we all face it to a degree, how do you coach them through the resistance, and what is the areas maybe that you have uncovered that are common areas of resistance of letting go?
The 2 biggest areas that people are reluctant to let go of is 1, managing the people, and 2, managing the money. Those are the 2 biggest ones, right? Because money's very personal, and people, I can do it better than everybody else. So it's like, well, how do you know if you don't give people the chance? And then you kind of start, what I've learned with founders is you can't come in and flip over the table. I have to slowly move pieces across the table and start strategically and look at what is, and for the way I look at the way I work with founders is it's my job to understand the founder, the inner workings of them, like their personality, how they tick, how they learn, how they receive information, because then I can advise them that. Like, I don't just give them a system and say, do this, because it's got to be for that person, right? So I have to understand what are their fears, what are their hesitations, how do they operate, kind of understand their history of the business, because that gives me data, right? The more data I have about that founder and how they think and how they process and solve problems allows me to now give them solutions to what they're doing. So when it comes to people, right, a lot of times I find that the founders that don't want to let go of managing the people, they've had people leave that they thought were always going to be there, so they felt betrayed. And so they feel this need to always be involved because they don't want to feel that betrayal again. But what it's doing is it's hindering people's growth.
So true.
And it ends up leading to more people leaving, because people want, especially the way the world is now, people want more flexibility and want more freedom to do things the way they want to. So just knowing what the objective of a position is and allowing an employee or your manager to kind of handle things to that objective, not to the process you've created, that's what people need to start adjusting. And when you do that, most founders are okay walking down that path. as long as they're seeing incremental improvements. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes the people are wrong, and the people are just in the wrong seats. But it's really understanding the person, the founder, because that's where I see the most benefit. When I understand that, I know exactly what to do with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all have our tendencies, right? But I think for every entrepreneur, wherever you are on the scale, there's a fear of loss of control.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think your point is well said, is like, how do we incrementally do this in a way that we don't feel like, we're just handing over the keys, right? But if the goal ultimately is to have a business that runs without you, which I think we can all raise our hand and say that's the goal, well, then we at least have to start taking steps towards that, right?
Exactly, yes.
So, look, I think a priority for every entrepreneur and founder is to find, hey, what's holding us back? What's blocking us? And I know something that you've talked about even on some of our group calls is the 4 frames. To diagnose, like, what's holding me back? What's blocking me? Can you walk the listener through the 4 frames and how maybe you apply them in real life, and maybe even give a case example of how you've helped somebody through that using that tool?
Yeah, so the 4 frames, really, the clarity frame, the alignment frame, the profit frame, and the freedom frame. So it's really kind of walking. If the founder doesn't have clarity, nothing else matters, right? So that's the first step. The founder has to get very clear on where the business is, what it's doing, what it's not doing, and where they want to go. So that's the first piece we have to do, is like, okay, what's the end goal, and how do we reverse engineer that? So we have to know where we're trying to go, like what that outcome looks like. Most founders just say, I just want to keep moving forward. I want to keep growing. Well, what does that mean? When you say you want to keep growing, what does that mean? And so really honing in and getting them to articulate with clarity what they want this to look like. And that's sometimes just me sitting there with a founder and asking questions ad nauseum till they're really uncomfortable, but we have the breakthrough. Because no one ever questions a founder, right? Their employees don't question them. They're paying me. They come in, they do their job, they get paid. I'm coming in and saying, I don't really care. Like, we got to get to the bottom of this. Like, what's the whole, and just keep asking questions. So once they have that clarity, then we say, okay, let's look at the larger picture. Are your people aligned? Do they get along? Are they in the right positions? What are their skill sets? Does the position require those skill sets or a different set? Like, are they in the right seats? Do they have what it takes? Truly, do they want this? That's the other thing. I've dealt with founders that think their employees want money. And I keep giving them raises, or I keep giving them bonuses, and they just keep doing the same thing. I said, did you ever ask them what they actually care about? Like, ask the question, do they care about money, or do they care about time? Do they care about recognition? Like, that's part of the alignment frame, like understanding the people and how they are aligned. And the profit frame is really, that's where you dissect the numbers. That's where you get real granular. We look at, okay, where's your revenue coming from? What are your most costly lines of business, your most profitable lines of business? And then, like, I worked with someone where we looked at some of their lines of business and realized they were putting so much effort into this one piece of their business that wasn't really generating any money. They thought it could, but like, you guys are spending so much time and effort into this one line of business, and you've sold like 4 things this year that maybe brought in 40 grand, but you've spent probably 100,000 in people's time. For what? Well, they thought there was a huge upside. Like, that doesn't work that way. And then the freedom piece is really taking the founder and saying, what can we remove from you? What should be given to your team? What can we protect, like protecting their time, protecting their schedule, and really getting granular on their day-to-day. Because most founders, like, I was the same way. I wanted to be accessible. But then I realized that if my door's always open and my calendar's always open, I'm not going to get anything done.
Right.
So giving them very strategic tools and time blocks to help them see how they should structure their week to make them the most effective founder to lead a more effective company.
I love it. And I mean, it goes without saying that we all run hard as entrepreneurs. And sometimes that means we don't stop to think about purpose. No. And I'm guilty of it, right? Yeah. I'm just running hard. I'm just trying to drive results. Well, why? I think when you look at the 4 frames, when you know what the purpose is, and look, I think you could make an argument that when you could stack rank them any way you wanted and you wouldn't be wrong. Yeah. But now, if you know what that is, you can start pulling the right tools out of the tool belt to get there.
Exactly.
Because I'm sure you've helped companies that said, you know what, I'm preparing to exit.
Yeah.
And you're like, great, there's a framework to do that. Like, let's drive EBITDA.
Yep.
Let's price increase everybody, whatever it might look like. But if it's like, I want to give this to my kids to run after I die.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that framework is totally different.
Exactly.
I want to keep the business, but I don't want to work there 60 hours a week anymore. Okay, well, there's a tool for that too.
Exactly.
So I love that. And I think what I love about it most, Rocco, is rarely is somebody going to do this on their own.
No, exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly
Rarely.
right. That's the problem.
You're not going to stop. Why? There's no immediate gratification in that.
Exactly.
I could go sell another piece of business or save a customer, or that's immediate gratification. So I love the 4 frames. I usually do this at the end. But
Yeah.
if somebody was like, I need that,
Yeah.
where do they go? What do they do? Do they contact you? What's that look like?
Yeah, so you can go to just my website roccocozza.com, and there's a couple ways I work with this. So, and I actually have a workshop I'm doing on October 30th, which is an in-person workshop. We're going to kind of go through the 4 frames and really help these business owners. We were only selling 20 seats, and I think we may have 10 left. But it's really, there's 3 different ways I work with people. One is we'll do what I call like a 30-day, it's like a 30-day sprint. We meet throughout that month 2 to 4 times and really take one major problem, one of the frames, and really hone in on what's that bottleneck and fix that piece. There's that. Then I have an all-day intensive where I'll go into a company for a full day. We'll walk through all 4 frames, and they'll have some pre-work to do. We'll go through all the frames, and we'll build out a 90-day action plan from there. That, hey, this is going to fix these problems. Then there's other clients that, hey, they want to work with me on a 6 to 12-month basis where I'm like a constant advisor, and we're working through the frames on a longer-term basis because their company's either bigger or they just need more hand-holding. Sometimes they just need someone to keep them accountable.
No doubt.
And I've done it because I've walked through this myself. I've sold my own businesses over the years. I've had other businesses, just not my law firm, that had employees. So I've dealt with all these different things. And to me, it's something that I know is needed, but it has to be with, like, I won't work with everybody. They have to be the right client. And that's why, I framed it the way I did, because people, they have to be serious. It's not going to be something you're going to pay a couple $100 for and we're going to fix a problem. Like, you've got to make an investment because I'm truly investing in that person. That's why I'm very, there's an application process to it. It's not just, hey, come, we'll work together. It's like, no, we've got to make sure this fits.
Yes. Man, it's good. I mean, that alone would be absolutely worth it. Because, again, it's like anything else. It's like fitness training.
Yeah.
Part of why you get a fitness trainer is to hold you accountable to show up at the gym. It's 100%. Like nobody's walking around saying working out is a bad idea. Right. There's a level of accountability, and it forces you to stop and break up routine. Well, business is the same exact way.
Exactly.
Every time you respond to something, it has me thinking about a million other things. But one of the things that came up in my mind was this transition from founder to leader and how we scale. Many entrepreneurs I find struggle to transition from, being the doer, frontline, tip of the spear, to being the leader and elevating.
Yep.
What have you seen are the biggest challenges in making that shift, and what advice do you have for that entrepreneur that's maybe stuck in that rut?
The biggest one is fear. It's the fear of everything going wrong. Like, that's what I found. The people are so afraid to step out of that doer role and into the leader role and the visionary role because there's a fear it's not going to be done the way I do it. It's not going to be as good as I do it. It's going to fall apart. Well, you'll never know how good a person will be unless you give them the opportunity. You've got to go from being a player to being a coach. Like, you can be a great player, but eventually you're just a great player on a mediocre team. Then you can transition to be a great coach of great players. And that's what the leader has to do. But they have this fear. I see it in their face when I talk to them. It is this level of fear that it won't be done like I want it done. It won't be done like me. And I always say, well, how do you know if you haven't tried? And that was my own journey. Like, I had to face that myself until I got to the point. I'm like, okay, I just have to let go and let it happen. And then you watch people develop. You understand their skill sets. You understand if you have the right people in the right seats, then you can let go and start leading the people instead of doing for the people. Because if you keep doing for the people, you're gonna stunt their growth. But if you lead the people, you're gonna help them grow into the best individuals they can be. That is my goal with my business, with every business I work for. I know people will leave here, but if they leave here better than when they came, I made an impact. That's all that matters. And every founder should think about it that way as well.
Well said.
Thank
Well
you.
said. And I mean, look, this is good business advice that you're giving, Rocco, but I also think of the suicide rates
Yeah.
that are ever on the increase for the entrepreneur and senior leader. And why is that happening? Well, look, I'm not putting anybody in a box here, but here's what we know. We have the fear that Rocco talked about it, and God forbid any one of us ever says that we're overwhelmed and we can't take it anymore. I want to quit. I'd rather be dead, literally. And so we see this happening, and it's a result of the stress that's being created because your company is outgrowing your ability to do.
Exactly.
This is where this reproduction has to happen.
Exactly right.
And even if they're not going to do it as good as you, and I mean, we all know they won't,
Yeah.
because we're the best at it, right? But even if they didn't, like what, not only is it good for you, but to your point, Rocco, this is a great way to help people scale their own career and develop and gain expertise. So tremendous advice.
Yeah. And it really is, to your point, like it is a lonely game as a founder,
Yes.
but it's okay. Like we're here to help, and that's what I try and tell founders. Like, you're not doing this alone. We've all been there, and lean on the people you know to support you, because you don't have to feel alone. Like it's a hard road, this journey of a founder, and then growing from a doer to a leader. But once you cross that threshold, life truly changes instantaneously. I've watched it with myself. I've watched it with people I work with. Once that light goes off and they realize, I'm not doing now, I'm leading, life gets very fun. In the business, they get this new spark for the business because they're seeing the frame differently. And that's truly what I try and help people do.
Yeah, and this is an accelerant too.
It is.
This reproduction, it is absolutely an accelerant.
Yeah.
Which there's a word, like, let's talk about that. I find that businesses are coming out of the gate scaling faster than ever before because there's resources at our fingertips. There's marketing strategies like never before. There's psychology. There's go-to-market strategies on every corner. We're scaling fast, but I'm finding scaling fast can be a big setback as well. It could be as dangerous as not scaling at all in some cases. This is the Shark Tank effect, right?
Yeah.
What warning signs would you give a founder to watch for to avoid overextending and becoming a victim of scaling too fast?
Yeah, don't scale for scaling's sake. First of all, like that's the people just think they have to grow because that's just the next thing. Make sure you have your processes in place. Like, you cannot scale a company with shaky processes or zero processes. And I hate to sound like a boring consultant, something that talks about being process driven, but there are certain fundamental processes every business needs. You don't need to overcorrect and literally, what's the process for turning on the lights when we walk in the office? But it's what are your fundamental But I've seen companies do that where they've literally every process or everything has a process. Like, just what are the fundamental operating cadences of your business, and making sure those are solid and you've looked at them and pressure tested them. Like, that's what people don't understand. That they'll put a process in place and say, I always say, can this process handle a 10x growth? Like, if your company grew 10x overnight, would this process break? And if so, what part of it? Let me look at that. So that's what you have to do. If you try and scale, you've got to make sure you're pressure testing your processes. And they can't pass the pressure test. You need to slow down and reassess. I've done that. I've grown too fast and wasted a lot of money and like had to wrap up some business because my head got too big. I got out in front. This is when I was younger. My head got way too big, got way out in front of things, and I lost a lot of money in doing that. And I learned, like, okay, I got to make sure better things are in place before I try and take this next jump.
That's great advice, which is why they call it the Shark Tank effect.
Yeah.
People go on, they win a deal, their website crashes, customers are upset. It's like the very thing you were hoping was going to happen It actually happened. It happened fast, and it destroyed your whole company.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so the pressure testing piece is good. It's almost like taking your company through a mock growth.
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
really
look,
is.
that can happen for a bunch of. It could be because you have a great strategy and you're brilliant and amazing. It could be that a competitor goes out of business, and all of a sudden, boom, it all starts
Yeah.
to happen. Great advice.
Thank you.
Man, I tell you this all the time, Rocco. I feel like we could talk all day, and
Yeah.
it's always so valuable. I'm grateful for your time. Can we close it out with a lightning round?
Absolutely, man. Happy to.
All right. This is what the people really want to know. They
Okay.
want to know what would be your go-to pump-up song before a big meeting or going out on the stage to deliver a talk? What's that song that you're playing? Your first at bat in PNC Park. What's the song?
Enter Sandman, Metallica, man. That's it.
Okay. Yes.
That's it. That's it.
Oh, that'll get. I mean, if that
Yeah.
song doesn't get somebody going, there's no hope.
Yeah, they're dead inside.
They are dead inside. Talk to us about the first job you ever had, and I don't mean chores around the house. I mean you collected some compensation. What was that first job?
I was a bagger at Giant Eagle up in Newcastle, and I loved it 'cause I got to talk to people all day.
Yeah.
It was just fun talking to people and helping old ladies put their groceries in the car, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. Definitely, that
Yeah,
was
you
my
have any
first job.
pictures of that, like in your Giant Eagle uniform anywhere?
I probably do, but I remember like we had to wear a tie. Like it was
Oh.
a privately owned Giant Eagle, so we had to wear a
Yeah.
tie, and I always wore these like short sleeve button up shirts with just random ties that my dad had. None of them ever matched. And I look back, I'm like, man, who let me walk out of the house like this? Like truly, who let me walk out of the house like this?
This is back to process and procedure. Hey, you didn't say what kind of tie I had to wear. You just said I had to wear one.
That's
right?
exactly it. I mean, it was the most ridiculous stuff that I remember wearing. I'm like, man, like, whoa. I had
Oh,
no
that is
style back then.
tremendous. I hope you find one. Please post that on social for
I will
us.
try
That would
to,
be
definitely.
absolutely amazing. If you could have the infamous dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
My grandmother.
Wow.
Definitely,
I
just
thought you might
because-
say that.
Yeah, just because she was such a influence on my life, and I miss her tremendously. But she always knew the right things to say
Yeah.
when you needed it, and she always had just good life advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, that would be it.
Yeah, man, we share a lot in common.
Yeah.
And I learn from you every time I'm around you. So
Likewise.
grateful, very grateful.
Likewise,
You have an amazing law firm, but even more than that, you're helping a lot of people grow their companies. If somebody wants to be in that, they want to take one of those 10 seats, which I
Yeah.
recommend that you do. Can you tell us more about that and how people would reach out to you for some advice and help?
Yeah, so they could we could just go to stepoutsidetheframe.com/register-now. That's where all the information about the event's there. It's on October 30th at Chartiers Country Club here in Pittsburgh. It's from 9:30 to 3:30. And what it's going to be is there's some pre-work you'll do. We'll go through the 4 frames that day, and then we'll have a follow-up call with me 30 days later, 90-minute call with each of the participants to kind of walk through the plan we put together. And to me, it's going to be a great event because the founders have already signed up for it. It's a great group of people. Like I said, we have 20 seats. To me, I think 10 to 14 is probably the sweet spot number. I'd like to be like, if we get to 20, great, but I like that 10 to 14 becomes more intimate. But there's that, and then truly you can just go to my website, roccocozza.com, and you can find out all the different ways to work with me there, or just reach out to me there. Even if you want to just pick my brain, I'm always happy to just help and just answer questions and see if I can point in the right direction.
Man, it's so true. I don't get to say this about every guest I have on the show, but I can say this about you is this guy walks it out. He walks it out. He has supported me, our team greatly. So invest in this for sure. You won't be disappointed. Rocco, appreciate you. And listener, appreciate you all joining today. I think we can all agree that scaling a business is not for the faint of heart. It's certainly not about chasing a big number in its essence. It's about building something that's sustainable, that can grow in a very healthy way without breaking you, the founder, in the process, which we see far too often. If you're a founder listening right now, here's my challenge to you. Take a very hard look at where you're still maybe acting like the doer, and instead you need to become the leader. Where is it in your company that your processes just depend too much on you? And where is your growth maybe actually a little bit fragile? That's the audit process that Rocco talked about today. The best time to address these things is before it costs you your business or your process or your peace of mind. Listen, if this conversation sparked something in you, share it. Share it with another entrepreneur. Share it with a colleague who might be in the trenches of scaling right now. And if you missed part one, listen, go back, because Rocco and I talked about blind spots as it relates to legal and structuring your company. These are things that can sink your business. So go back, check out the episode before this one. It's a perfect complement, I believe, to this episode. Cheering for you all. Listen, until next week, keep scaling well, keep scaling in a healthy way, and keep turning that pressure into potential.
The Champion Forum Podcast with Jeff Hancher. Lead, inspire, win.